Okay, guys, I got a notice from the Tesla Owners Club in Austin that they want to do a demo day today. So let's go check it out. Obviously, if they ask me to answer questions, I'm more than happy to do that. My feeling is they're probably more likely to ask me to do demo drives, but anyway, that's fine. The main point is to give people a chance to get introduced. So let's see how it goes. Okay, home again, jiggity jog. So this was out by I-35. Anyway, round trip 69 miles, 18 kilowatts hours used for 264 watt hours per mile. And what's interesting is my current trip, which would be from Raising Cane's, I think. Anyway, it's showing 243 watt hours per mile. Now, I may have been pushing a little bit at times, but I would have thought it'd be lower than that. Anyway, still 243 is better than 4 miles per kilowatt. Anyway, so kind of an interesting group. So this was a I don't know, mixed group. It was held at a church. A lot of the people came by. I think they were really looking for hybrids or plug-in hybrids. And so it showed in how they looked. A few people asked about Tesla, and you know, that was interesting. One guy with a wife and four girls. I think he's just shopping. He's trying to figure out what he's going to do, or maybe more precisely, I think he's getting ready for when his daughters get to 16, and I think maybe like 12 or something. I mean, he didn't say, but I'm just guessing. Anyway, he's trying to talk them into buying a bulb. Anyway, they sat in my car and I showed them the colorizer, and they go, "Oh wow, this is cool." And it was like, you know what, I just showed you. And they asked about light show, so we ran the light show. So they barely touched the car from the toys perspective. Whatever, it's interesting. No strong feeling like in San Antonio. I came away from some of those people like, yeah, I convinced them to look more seriously, if not at least in Tesla, certainly at an EV. But anyway, a few people asked questions, and they all said, okay, I got it. So, and I told them, one couple asked about it, and they're asking about, have you ever had a chip broken charger? Well, in my trips, I have encountered one Tesla post where it looked like the DC fast pins were pulled out of it. I mean, I don't know if that's what happened, but they were missing. Other than that, I haven't had any problems. And I even told them, you know, I took a trip up to Boston in the cold. I mean, yes, it doesn't like to charge when it's cold, but once it warms up, it's fine. So anyway, but you know, this is a little bit older, definitely a more conservative, so to speak. It's not fair to say conservative. Old-fashioned crowd. Like I don't really want to change. I'm just here because it's a free event and I can learn something. But at least they're learning. And that's the important part, and that's why I'm there, is so they can learn. So there you go. Would I do it again? Absolutely. I mean, the more people you expose to EVs, the better things are. Okay, so I'm going to throw this in as a curiosity. I mean, I get it, but you know. So there's something called vehicle to load, and that means if your EV has a battery. So EV load means that you can plug into something or another and you can give it electricity. Sounds really cool, and when you're desperate, that's great. But people like to carry on like it's the most critical, most important thing in the world in some ways, or it's a very important feature. And so they said, "Did your Tesla have it?" No, my Tesla does not have vehicle to load. And so it's kind of like, why? So when I was discussing it with this group, I said, well, think about it. If you're doing vehicle to load, it's more cycles on your battery. More cycles on your battery means your battery will age faster. Okay? So, and if you do like a Powerwall, one of those battery storage solutions, those batteries are typically more suited for doing those kind of cycles than a battery in a car is. Now, I may be pinching pennies, and if you said I am, you certainly have a point. But I don't know. There you go. The one thing I have heard Elon Musk say, and this is at Investor Day, he basically said, you know, having that battery back, running a vehicle to load is great until you have to go somewhere. And then you have to unplug your car, leaving your house without power. Okay. I mean, I get that point. I'm not sure that was a critical point, because if I'm leaving the house, maybe I don't care about the power. But that's a mixed bag. And you know, the closest thing I've had to a serious outage was that winter storm where we got all the snow, and regardless of how it happened, we had power outages. Okay, so luckily in Lago Vista, we just had brownouts, and there were cycling. So sometimes you'd have no power. So for like an hour, you'd have no power. For an hour, you'd have power, maybe 2 hours. And so they were just cycling through, which is probably the way they should have been doing it, but whatever. So for me, I mean, what's the best way to not feel cold in your house? Get outside where it's even colder, and when you come back inside, it feels very reasonable. But anyway, 2 hours of heat, 1 hour off was very doable for me. It's not like those people who got no power at all and then they froze to death. That was horrible. But anyway, that's not the point of this. The point I'm trying to make is the only time that was that's the only time I seriously need some kind of battery backup. Okay, the rest of the time I don't really need it. Okay. The only time I've had power outages, there was something going on around the house, and the power would go off for like 10, 15 minutes, and then come back. Probably somebody working on a line somewhere. So if I had battery backup, I wouldn't even know that the power was out. I mean, the one day I come home, the clocks are flashing, so I know the power went out while I was out. Next day, I was at home and the power was out. So I called Peck. But whatever, it's life. Live with it. So anyway, bottom line is, there are so many people who are making a big deal about vehicle to load. There are situations where you might need some power. Yes, you got camping. I get it. Anyway, after discussing it further, one of the guys said, "Oh yeah, I know about there's this." So anyway, you can buy portable batteries. They're like 2 kilowatts each, 2 kilowatt hours. So if you need a short term, that could power a few things in your house, keep you going. To me, the right solution, the right answer, although it's an expensive solution, the right answer is go solar with a Powerwall backup. I mean, that would solve most problems. But that costs money, right? It's another Tesla, another car. Anyway, peace and harmony. I know this part got long, I'm sorry. But it's just curious that you always have to hear these people making a huge deal about a vehicle to load, wanting to use the batteries in their cars. But anyway, peace and harmony. In some ways, we're all here to learn from each other. And, you know, just because we all have different opinions about things doesn't mean that any one right person is right. Chances I know I'm not exactly right, and chances are those guys aren't exactly right. But Ford makes a big deal about it. Hyundai, I think it is, has a vehicle to load, so you can run what, a toaster or something. Anyway, that's for those guys. It was a little thing that you could give some power to run some utensils at a campsite. Basically, is what it was. Anyway, peace and harmony. The real message to all of you all is, think about what it is you're trying to accomplish and go from there. Don't do it just because somebody told you have to. Do it because it makes sense to you. All right, onward, upward charge. Okay, so the typical question is, how long does it take to charge? So here I am. I'm hooked up on the portable connector at 120 volts. It's 2:45 p.m. I was at 51%, so I've gained just enough to get out of that, I guess. Anyway, it's going to take, did I already say that? 15:45 to do it. So there you go. Let's see what happens. Okay, so here we are. Charging is complete. I got the notice that it completed at 8:12. So I've added 21 kilowatts. And the percentage is now 81%. There you go. Okay, here we are after another Sunday trip. Interestingly enough, I'm back down to 52% from 81. I find that very curious. Or it's actually right on the border of 52 and 51, depending upon what's going on at that particular moment. So anyway, I plug back into the 120 volt outlet, and we're charging up. And sometimes we'll see 2 kilowatts an hour. Anyway, it's estimating 17 hours, 10 minutes at 6 p.m. So we'll see what happens. It'll take just outside of 17 hours. So there you go. We've added 21 kilowatt hours. It's well, the clock says 11:52. I got the notice at 11:48. So that's basically 18 hours. So there you go. I mean, that's I don't think it's quite as fast as I expected it to, but so it's basically about 18 hours. 18 hours? 6, 12, yeah. It's just short of 18 hours. So there you go. On the 120 volt, added 30% basically in 18 hours. And 30% is about 65 miles. So probably not enough to make trips from Lago Vista into town and back, but I mean, if you lived within Austin and you drove to work in Austin, this would be probably very sufficient. However, for somebody who lives in Lago Vista, driving into town is probably just a little bit short. Anyway, there you go.